Hi BookTube, it's Thea, and this video is going to be my spring book haul. This book haul is going to consist of books that I purchased and or received in the months of March, April, and May. I have a lot to show you, so I'm just going to dive right in and show you guys what I got. One of the first things that I picked up in March was Here We Are, 44 Voices Write, Draw, and Speak About Feminism for the Real World, which is edited by Kelly Jensen. If you don't know, this is a nonfiction anthology about feminism, all written by women, and this was brand new when it was brand new when I picked it up. It was like only had been out for a few days. Kelly Jensen was at the local book festival, so I did have her sign my copy, and it says, "To Thea, keep fighting the good fight, Kelly." And it says, "For those who started the journey and for those who continue." I have not read this yet, but I am super pumped to dive into this. And there's a whole bunch of different people who were involved in this. But this is centered more towards the YA side of things, but I knew I wanted to pick this up and support feminism and support all of these wonderful authors who I cannot wait to read. And they're all different. Some of them are nonfiction, some of them are fiction, some of them are like poems with drawings, and some of them are just little comic spreads. So it's going to be a fun read, but I also feel like it's really important for this generation as well as all women in general. At the same local book fair, I picked up The You I've Never Known by Ellen Hopkins. At the time at the book festival, this was the newest release, and I get to meet her. She did sign this copy as well, and it says, "For Thea, keep faith, Ellen, March 2017. I have read this. I didn't enjoy it as much as I was expecting, but I did give it 3.5 stars, and Ellen Hopkins is known for writing all of her books in verse, and I think the reason why I didn't like this one as much is because if you read the description on Goodreads, it basically gives away this huge plot twist in the book, and so I already knew it was coming, and so I didn't feel like it was as big of a plot twist as if I wouldn't have known that it was coming. And that's not Ellen Hopkins' fault. I think that was just the way that they decided to market the description of the book. But I definitely recommend going into this blind, not reading the description on Goodreads. If you like Ellen Hopkins, and if you've never read it, maybe pick up something else a little different, because this is kind of a chunker and you would want something a little smaller to get used to her writing style. But I did enjoy this. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I feel like this is Natalie Portman. Every time I look at this, it reminds me that it looks like Natalie Portman. Maybe it is, I don't know. But if it's not, this girl does really look like Natalie Portman. But maybe it is, I don't know. At my local book festival, I went to a panel about queer in YA literature, and I had listened to a debut author speak, and the way he had talked about his book just made me want to pick it up and read it, and so I had to buy it, and that was Symptoms of Being Human by Jeff Garwin. Just the way he talked about what inspired him to write this book just made me want to pick it up and read it. I have not read it yet, but I'm definitely going to get to it hopefully this summer. And again, he did sign it for me, and it says, "Thea, don't blend in," with his signature, and there was a bookmark as well. Basically, the description of the book that just like automatically caught me was, "The first thing you're going to want to know about me is, am I a boy or am I a girl? Riley is many things: punk rock, snarky, rebellious, and gender fluid. Some days Riley identifies as a boy and others as a girl. The thing is, Riley isn't exactly out yet, and between starting a new school and having a congressman father running for re-election, the pressure, media and otherwise, is building up in Riley's so-called normal life." So I haven't read a lot of gender fluid novels, and I don't think that a gender fluid novel is something that's out there a lot, especially in the YA, so I definitely knew I wanted to support him, and he was just a nice guy, and I definitely knew I wanted to pick this up and give it a read. The last book that I actually picked up brand new at the book festival was something that I was so excited to pick up. I was so happy when I found out that he was going to be there, and this was from the same queer literature panel, and that is At the Edge of the Universe by Sean David Hutchinson. I have not read Sean David Hutchinson at all, but I know that he is beloved on BookTube. When I got to speak with him, he was just so nice and such a nice guy and so cool, and so I knew I had to pick up the book and support him. And I have not read this yet, but I am super excited to dig into this. and he did sign this for me as well, and it says, Thea, you're not alone, with his signature. And I will give you a little bit of a description about this. If you don't know, Tommy and Ozzy have been best friends since 2nd grade and boyfriends since 8th. They spent countless days dreaming of escaping their small town, and then Tommy vanished. More accurately, he ceased to exist, erased from the minds and memories of everyone who knew him, everyone except Ozzy. Ozzy doesn't know how to navigate life without Tommy, and soon suspects that something else is going on, that the universe is shrinking. When Ozzy is paired up with the reluctant and secretive Calvin for a physics project, it's hard for him to deny the feelings that develop between them, even if he still loves Tommy. But Ozzy knows there isn't much time left to find Tommy, that once the door closes, it can't be opened again, and he's determined to keep it open as long as possible. That sounds so good. I am so excited to dive into this. It is a little big, not huge, I mean, but the font is like huge. So I definitely think that this is something that could get done in a couple sittings, and I feel like this is something that's going to be perfect for the summertime. And I have heard nothing but praise for Sanjay Hutchinson, so I'm so excited to dive into this. Another book that I got in March is actually a book that my mom got for me. She was at a yard sale and they had a whole bunch of books, and this book is like in really good condition. And I know it's a staple, like YA contemporary book that everyone has read, but I have not read it yet. And so she picked up The Fault in Our Stars by John Green for me, and this is actually the special collector's edition, and it's in really good shape. It's hardback, it's like basically brand new, and she picked it up for like $2. So I was like, yes, pick it up for me, please, I need to read this. But I feel like I don't need to describe this book. I feel like everyone and their mother has read this book, and I'm just like the one person in the whole world who hasn't read it yet. But I couldn't pass it up for like $2, hardback, basically brand new. So hopefully during the summer, this is something that I can get to as well. The next 3 books are all ARCs that I picked up when I was at my local book fair. They had a big box of free books, and you could take technically 1, but I went 2 days, so I was able to pick up 2. And one of them is a brand new release that at the time hadn't come out yet, but has since been released, and that is Definitions of Indesirable Things by Whitney Taylor. I didn't know anything about this book, but it was an ARC, and it hadn't been released yet, and so I figured I'd pick it up. It's another YA contemporary, and it says, my name's Reggie, I'm 17. My worldview is that we're all spiraling down toward a vast and gaping obscurity we can't escape, and if we're lucky, we're doing so alone. Also, I despise you, and by you, I mean the general human population. 17-year-old Reggie Mason believes she's unlocked the secret to keeping herself safe. Nobody can hurt you if you've never let them in to begin with. During a CVS run to pick up her Zoloft, however, Reggie encounters Snake, a slightly cute, Twizzler-guzzling, indie filmmaking fellow cynic in line for his Prozac refills. Reggie starts to let Snake in, only to find out he has a 7-month pregnant ex-girlfriend, Carla, a popular queen bee and Reggie's ex-childhood friend. Thrown into one another's lives, these 3 teens begin an awkward and unexpected journey, complete with mental breakdowns, lame shopping trips, disappointed parents, boring proms, and one very embarrassing but hilarious birthing class. So this sounds like it's just going to be cute, YA, contemporary, and I'm hoping to get to this very soon. The second ARC that I picked up is an ARC that is a ARC of a book that has already been released, and that is Dorian by Ilana Manchester. I had previously received an ARC of this last year, and I don't know what happened to it. I think I gave it to a friend and didn't get it back. So I saw that they had a couple copies of these, so I picked it up. This is basically a retelling of The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I have not read it yet. It was released, I believe, last year. Yes, this was released in June of 2016. So this was released last year, but I definitely knew I wanted to pick it up because it was free and I hadn't read it yet, and I was really excited to read this. And the last book that I picked up at my book festival was someone who just gave this book to me, and I have no idea what it's about, but it's an ARC, and it's called Booked by Camwin Alexander. I believe it has something to do with soccer, because it's a boy with a soccer ball. I assume it's a YA book. In this novel about soccer, family, love, and friendship, 12-year-old Nick learns the power of words as he tries to navigate his parents' divorce, stand up to a bully, and impress the girl of his dreams. Helping him along are his best friend and sometimes teammate Kobe, and the Mac, a rapping librarian who gives Nick inspiring books to read. So this sounds like it's a middle grade. I haven't read anything about this. I think I've seen this on BookTube a few times, but someone just gave it to me, and so I figured I'd pick it up and give it a read. And the last book is a book that needs no explanation, no description. It's raved about on BookTube. Everyone's read it. Everyone loves it. Loves the author, loves her writing, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is the first book in the Shades of Magic trilogy. I have read this. I absolutely loved it. I had ordered it online, and it was supposed to get here when she was at my local book fair for her to sign it, but unfortunately it came like 2 days later, so I was a little bummed. But I found out recently that Victoria is going to be at Phoenix Comic-Con, which I will be attending at the end of May. So I have already read this, and so I figured since she is going to be at Phoenix Comic-Con and I will be there, I will have her sign it now. The first book that I picked up in April is Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is a YA contemporary about a girl who is confined to living inside because she's basically allergic to everything. It's known, I don't remember the medical term, but it's basically like the baby bubble disease, where you basically have like the immune system of an infant or a young child. So she is confined to living inside her house and never has been outside, and as YA contemporary goes, she meets a boy and decides that she is willing to risk her life for love and for life. There is a movie adaptation of this book that is coming out early this month as well. Next book is The Black Prism by Brent. It's the first book in the Lightbringer series. This is an epic fantasy about a guy named Gavin, who is known as the Prism, who's the most powerful man in the world. He also knows that as a prism, he only has 5 years left to live, and in those 5 years he has to achieve 5 impossible goals. I've heard really great things about this on BookTube. A lot of fantasy booktubers that I like have raved about this, and so I knew I wanted to pick this up. And also Brent Weeks is going to be at Phoenix Comic-Con at the end of May, so I definitely wanted to pick up this first novel and give it a read, and then I can hopefully meet him and go to his panel. And I've heard nothing but great things about this, so I wanted to pick this up. I'm trying to get into more adult epic fantasies, and I figured this was a good place to start, but it's kind of a chunker, so I don't know if I'm going to get through it in time, but I am super excited to dive into this. The second to last book that I picked up in April is also a chunker, and that is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is all over BookTube. I feel like this doesn't really need any explanation, but this book is a chunker. I did read it. It took me a month to read, which is a really long time for me lately because I've been reading a lot faster. But I did read this, half of it. I would read it as an audiobook at work and then come home and read it. But I did absolutely love this. I loved it a lot more than I was expecting to. I gave this 4 stars. Basically, it comes down to, it's a coming-of-age story about a boy named Theodore Decker who starts the book out at 13, and I won't say what happens, but through certain events, his mom dies, and so he gets passed around through a few different homes, and then winds up with his father, who left him and his mom when he was younger. And it's just about him growing up. It was absolutely amazing. There was a little bit of section in the middle, if you've read it, the Vegas section, that I found was a little slow. But overall, I did absolutely love this book. I gave it 4 stars. I picked this up. I got really lucky. I found this book for $5 at my used bookstore, and it was still in really good condition. So definitely pick this up. Next 3 books are 3 books of the last 3 books in a manga series that I have been reading, and that is Gravitation. This is volume 10, volume 11, and volume 12. This is a queer manga where the main character is a young boy who is in a rock band and falls in love with a much older male author, and it's just about going through that and their relationship and forming a band with his best friend and the trials and tribulations that come with this. I have read 10. I feel like the series has been kind of going downhill since volume 9, but I did want to finish it, so I picked up 10 and I have read that and I gave it 3 stars, but I have not finished 11 and I have not read 12. And the last book I picked up in April, I actually also picked up at my local used bookstore, and that is The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay. I am currently reading this. This is the book that my local book club is reading for May, and it's by Michael Chambon. It's basically about two boys who decide that they want to get in on the comic book craze, so they create their own comic book series, and it takes place in the 30s in New York, and I was like, yes, give me New York in the 30s and comic books. I'm sold. I just started it. I'm only about 20 pages in or so, and I hope to enjoy it. It is chunker, so I'm hoping to get through this. And so far in May, I have picked up one book and two graphic novels, so I will quickly show you those. The first book that I picked up in May is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the Shades of Magic trilogy. I have read this. I didn't feel like it was as strong as the first one, and I only gave it 3.5 stars, but I still love Victoria's writing. I love the story, and I love Lila and Cal. I just felt like this wasn't as strong as the first one, but I wanted to pick this up so that I could have her sign it at the end of May at Venus Comic Con. And I did get this from Book Outlet at a really good price. It was like $6, so I could not pass that up, and I knew I had to pick it up now so that I could have her sign it before the convention instead of trying to find it somewhere else, because it's still really expensive at Barnes & Noble. It's still like $25, and that's not something I can feasibly do right now. So Book Outlet, $6. Two graphic novels that my boyfriend and I have picked up so far in May, and that is Raven by Marv Wolfman. I know absolutely nothing about this except for the fact that it's about Raven. We had heard a few people that we trust who love comic books have told us that this is really good, so we wanted to pick it up. Basically, if you don't know, Raven is a member of the Teen Titans, and this is just basically about her. I don't know if it's her, like, if it's her backstory or if it's like her origin story or anything, but we've heard really good things about it, so we wanted to pick it up. The second graphic novel and the last thing that I have picked up for May so far this May is DC's Universe Rebirth, Aquaman Volume 1. This is the newest launch of DC's graphic novels. They have scrapped the New 52, which I really enjoyed, and I know I'm kind of salty about because Wonder Woman New 52 is the most amazing thing ever. But they have scrapped that, and now they have gone to Rebirth, and this is the first volume of Aquaman. I think it's like a backstory or an origin story, I'm not sure. But my boyfriend read it, said it's really good, and we're trying to get more into some of the lesser known superheroes, aside from just like Wonder Woman and Batman and Green Lantern. So I've heard that this is really good as well, and I'm really excited to dive into this. So here is as much as you can see in this frame, because there's too many books and it's stacked all the way from the floor. But this is everything that was hauled in March, April, and May. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys have hauled in the last 3 months. If you've read any of these, if you like any reviews on anything, I have all my social media stuff down below if you'd like to get in contact with me. As always, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!